On August 7, 2026, the Department of Defense published its fifth tranche of records under the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters, PURSUE. 41 records, 16 videos, 22 documents, 3 images, drawn from the Defense Department, the FBI, the CIA, the Department of State, and would for the first time listed as a contributing entity, the Executive Office of the President. Within hours, coverage described the material as unexplained. The Pentagon's own word was unresolved. Those two words are not interchangeable. One is a conclusion. The other is a filing status. Understanding that distinction is the difference between analysis and hype. To read a tranche correctly, you have to know what machinery produced it. In December 2023, Congress folded a heavily amended version of the Schumer-Rounds UAP Disclosure Act into the fiscal year 2024 National Defense Authorization Act, codified at Title 50, Section 3373. It created a UAP records collection at the National Archives, and it obligated federal agencies to transmit records into it. Crucially, the independent review board that Senator Schumer wanted, modeled on the JFK Assassination Records Review Board, was stripped out before passage. What survived was a presumption of disclosure, a list of postponement criteria, and final authority resting with the President. So what is actually in Tranche 5? By the department's own accounting, 41 records total. The largest category is documents, 22 of them, 16 video files, 3 still images. That ratio matters. Video is what generates headlines. Documents are what generate understanding. Reports, memoranda, cables, and correspondence are where you find dates, chains of custody, originating units, and, occasionally, the analytic reasoning behind a case disposition. A 12-second infrared clip without metadata tells you almost nothing. A witness statement with a unit designator and a timestamp can be cross-referenced against flight logs, radar tapes, and range schedules for years afterward. The first 4 tranches landed on May 8th, May 22nd, June 12th, and July 10th of 2026. Their center of gravity was the Defense Department, service-generated imagery, incident reporting, and material routed through ARRO's own case files. Tranche 5's distinguishing feature is breadth rather than volume. 5 contributing entities across the defense, intelligence, law enforcement, diplomatic, and executive spheres. That composition shift is itself the finding. State Department cables and FBI files sit in different classification ecosystems than Navy cockpit footage. Getting them into a single release means the equity review, the process where each agency signs off on its own material, crossed institutional lines it hadn't crossed before. The Executive Office of the President, appearing as a contributing agency, has drawn the most speculation, and it deserves the most caution. The EOP is not an intelligence collector. It is a records custodian for National Security Council staff material, presidential correspondence, briefing memoranda, and interagency policy documentation. Under the Records Statute, postponement authority is presidential, so the EOP sits at the center of the review process by design. The plainest reading is that documents held in White House files met the transmission criteria and were released. Whether they contain substantive UAP content or merely reflect administrative deliberation cannot be determined from a record count alone. That requires reading the documents. Now, the terminology, ARRO's framing, is that these cases remain unresolved because of what the office repeatedly calls insufficient quality or quantity of data. Read that literally. It is a statement about the evidence, not about the object. A case is resolved when available data supports attribution. A balloon, a drone, a satellite, sensor artifact, parallax. A case is unresolved when the data cannot support attribution either way. It has not been ruled out. It has also not been confirmed as anomalous. Unexplained, as the press uses it, implies exhausted explanation. Unresolved, as RO uses it, means the analysis stalled for lack of inputs. Context from RO's fiscal year 2025 reporting. The office counted 319 UAP reports for the period. Separately, and this is a different population measuring a different thing, ARO recorded 50 unmanned aircraft system notifications near nuclear sites in fiscal year 2025, up from 18 the previous year. Those figures should never be added together, and the 50 are not a subset of the 319. They are distinct reporting streams. What both illustrate is the same underlying constraint. Reporting volume has increased faster than sensor coverage, calibrated instrumentation, and analytic capacity. Unresolved cases accumulate not because phenomena are exotic, but because the collection architecture wasn't built for this. For anyone examining Tranche 5 seriously, 4 questions matter more than the footage. First, do the videos carry metadata, date, platform, sensor type, geolocation, or have those fields been stripped? Second, what postponement rationale is cited for each redaction, and does it map to the statutory criteria? Third, are the FBI and State Department records contemporaneous field reporting or later correspondence about reporting? Fourth, does any document reference material that has not been transmitted? Gaps referenced inside released records are historically the most productive lead in any declassification effort. That is how the JFK collection was worked for 3 decades. Tranche 5 is a procedural milestone, not an evidentiary one. 41 records, 5 contributing entities, a documented widening of the interagency pipeline, and a first appearance by the Executive Office of the President among contributors. What it is not, on the available information, is confirmation of anything. ARO says these cases lack sufficient quality or quantity of data. Taking the office at its word costs nothing and protects against the failure mode this subject has suffered for 80 years, where an administrative status gets upgraded in retelling into a claim nobody ever made. Read the documents, note the terminology, and wait for Tranche 6.